Laura Loomer. Some of you know Laura. She's a fantastic person, great woman.
Laura, how are you? You look so beautiful, as always.
A fantastic woman, a true patriot, Laura Loomer. This woman is amazing. Laura Loomer. Where is she?
Ladies and gentlemen, and anyone still convinced that Donald Trump surrounds himself with experienced national security experts, buckle up. What we're seeing isn't just political drama. It's a real policy mess, driven by conspiracy theories and far-right voices. How bad is it? Well, reports suggest Trump may have let go of top national security officials based on advice from Laura Loomer, a far-right activist banned from nearly every major social media site for spreading false information and promoting fear. That's not just questionable judgment. It's a total credibility meltdown. At this point, Trump isn't just losing in court. He seems to be losing touch with reality, all while acting like he's making clever political moves. It's like he was given a chessboard and told checkers wasn't cutting it anymore. Meanwhile, Jon Stewart has been tearing this story apart on The Daily Show, delivering sharp jokes that put other late-night hosts to shame. But behind the laughs, the serious story is still unfolding, and it's not looking good.
What happens when a sitting president takes geopolitical advice from someone who once live tweeted her way into a ban?
Because here's the thing. Laura Loomer isn't just a controversial figure. She's toxic, known for spreading conspiracy theories and Islamophobic rants. She's been banned from just about every major social media platform. And now, she's reportedly influencing Donald Trump's decisions on national security. That's not bold leadership. Say, that's reckless. When someone like Loomer, who built her brand on outrage and misinformation, starts shaping national policy, it's not just concerning, it's dangerous. Trump isn't acting on intelligence briefings anymore. He's taking cues from internet fringe figures who think libraries are part of a secret government plot, and CNN is the enemy. That's not strategy. That's chaos disguised as leadership. And while Trump spirals, reportedly yelling at portraits, and rewriting history in real time, Jon Stewart has been calling it out with surgical precision. On The Daily Show, Stewart didn't just poke fun. He exposed how Trump's inner circle has become a mix of grifters, conspiracy theorists, and online personalities with no real-world credentials. Let's be clear, this isn't governance. It's ego-driven theater. Trump's choices are no longer about the country. They're about loyalty tests, social media applause, and chasing relevance. And Loomer, she's not being sidelined. He's promoting her, defending her, even echoing her talking points. So now, national security is being shaped not by experts, but by ideology, by people who mistake viral tweets for policy plans. It's no longer about keeping the country safe. It's about staying in the headlines. And as Stewart laid it all bare, millions of Americans sat there thinking, is this really who's making decisions? Because when leadership looks more like a late-night Twitter rant than a serious plan, you don't get stability. You get confusion, outrage, and yes, a whole lot of late-night comedy gold. Bottom line, Trump's no longer leading. He's reacting. He's chasing attention, not making progress. And while he treats comedians like enemies and facts like suggestions, the rest of us are left watching this slow-motion train wreck unfold. This isn't just about politics. It's about reality being replaced by ego. And in the end, that never ends well. Not for leaders, not for parties, and definitely not for the country.
But I guess what Trump calls her isn't as important as figuring out what she is.
After Sheila Jackson Lee died, she called her a ghetto bitch. Kamala Harris wins, the White House will smell like curry. So another racist attack. She's also tweeted about Kamala Harris, calling her a stupid, brain-dead, lying bitch.
Loomer is known for making extreme claims and pulling attention-grabbing stunts, the kind that often cross the line from controversial to outright alarming. She's not exactly the kind of person you'd expect to have any real influence near a former president, and yet here we are. Loomer has stirred up plenty of controversy over the years, getting herself banned from nearly every major social media platform for spreading misinformation and promoting hateful rhetoric. So how did someone with that kind of background go from being silenced online to allegedly influencing decisions that reach the highest levels of American politics? It only gets more unbelievable from here. But first, let's take a closer look at how she built her reputation.
Taylor Greene also has a track record of incendiary and racist rhetoric.
The most mistreated group of people in the United States today are white males. But that doesn't make me a racist because I say leave the statue up there.
First grabbed attention as a student at Barry University, where she staged attention-seeking stunts in the name of defending free speech. Not long after, she began carving out a niche for herself as a professional provocateur, someone who thrives on outrage and leans into extreme, often baseless narratives. She's become known, or infamous, for promoting wild conspiracy theories and controversial takes, seeming to enjoy the spotlight as much as any reality TV star. Among her more shocking claims, that the 2017 Las Vegas mass shooter was linked to ISIS, and that Muslims should be banned from driving following a terror attack. These statements weren't slip-ups. They were part of a pattern. And despite widespread backlash, Loomer's flair for pushing boundaries hasn't slowed down. If anything, she's leaned in harder. Next voice, Laura Loomer didn't just stir up controversy. She practically made a career out of it. She became one of the loudest voices pushing the false claim that the 2020 election was stolen from Donald Trump. That stance alone drew plenty of heat. But Loomer went even further, racking up bans from Uber, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and even PayPal. When a payment platform doesn't want your business, it's safe to say you've crossed a serious line. One of Loomer's most talked-about moments came when she mocked Kamala Harris at the start of her vice presidential run. Loomer suggested that Harris, whose background is Indian and Jamaican, wasn't truly African American. Even many Trump supporters found it offensive, a rare reaction from a group often willing to overlook a lot under the banner of political incorrectness. Loomer brushed off the backlash, claiming she was simply criticizing identity politics. She's also known for pushing 9/11 conspiracy theories, including the debunked claim that it was an inside job involving Muslim officials in the U.S. government. When called out, she rarely apologizes. Instead, she often labels her comments as jokes, though critics and audiences alike aren't laughing. Her attempts to frame offensive rhetoric as edgy humor haven't helped her case. If anything, it's made her even more isolated. Then came the rumors of a romantic connection between Loomer and Trump, sparked by a now infamous photo of her looking at him with what some joked was the intensity of a rom-com audition. Naturally, the internet went wild. Memes flew, theories spread, and Jon Stewart? He didn't hold back. On The Daily Show, Stewart turned the moment into a brutal comedy segment, shredding Loomer's history of inflammatory speech and slamming Trump for letting someone like her anywhere near his inner circle. He called out her racist remarks, her conspiracy-driven rants, and her defense of those comments as just jokes. One of Stewart's sharpest lines, "You don't get to light the match and say, 'Relax, it's just fire.'" The crowd laughed, but the message was serious. Stewart even mocked the alleged affair rumors, joking that the Trump-Loomer photo looked like the cover of a tabloid calendar called 12 Months of Bad Decisions. He impersonated Loomer's dramatic denials, comparing them to a bad soap opera. But beyond the jokes, he highlighted the real issue. Why would a former president rely on someone like Loomer for political advice, especially on matters as serious as national security? Loomer's reappearance in Trump's orbit, especially after reports that her complaints helped lead to the firing of key national security staffers, only deepened the concern. According to sources, she came to a meeting armed not with policy, insight, but with printed-out lists of grievances and personal attacks. Soon after, multiple officials were abruptly dismissed, raising serious questions about how decisions are being made and by whom. Her critics argue that Loomer's involvement isn't just bizarre, it's dangerous. And Stewart summed it up best when he said Trump's leadership no longer looks like strategy. It looks like a circus, with Loomer as one of the loudest acts. Jon Stewart's takedown of the Trump-Loomer drama was vintage Stewart, sharp, hilarious, and painfully honest. He opened by mocking the now viral photo of Laura Loomer gazing at Trump like she was in a rom-com, wondering aloud how a man dealing with so many issues still found time to create new ones. He joked that Loomer, who calls herself the most banned woman on the internet, might be the most questionable person Trump has ever kept close. And that's saying something. What made Stewart's monologue cut deep wasn't just the comedy, but the truth behind the laughs. He highlighted Loomer's long history of racist remarks and wild conspiracy theories, calling out her habit of brushing off hate speech by claiming it was just a joke. One standout line: "You don't get to light the match and say, 'Relax, it's only fire.'" That drew laughs, but the message was clear. Hate wrapped in humor is still hate. He didn't let her off the hook for her attack on Kamala Harris either. Stewart reminded viewers of Loomer's earlier remarks questioning Harris's identity as a woman of color, calling it what it was: racism, disguised as political critique. Then came the affair rumors. Stewart had a field day with the photo that sparked them, joking that Loomer looked like she was practicing wedding vows and suggesting Trump release a calendar titled 12 Months of Bad Decisions, featuring all the awkward people he's inexplicably surrounded himself with. Impersonating. Loomer's dramatic denial of the affair. Lies. All lies. Stewart compared it to the title of a bad soap opera. But beneath the jokes was a serious critique. What does it say about Trump's judgment that he's giving attention, and apparently influence, to someone banned from platforms where most people post vacation photos?